like button. Rick Barry, bottom of the hour, our resident NBA Hall of Fame analyst, will talk with us about what happens next. I think this thing's over Monday night. There I go again. Hey, why do I feel like the Miami Heat are like an NCAA basketball team that's on this Cinderella ride? And you see, the one thing about the NCAA tournament, the NCAA basketball tournament, you only have to get, it's one and done. I don't think you could sustain what the Heat are trying to do in a 7-game series in an NBA Finals. I just don't think you can. I think it's impossible for them to keep that going every night. And I think that's kind of why you see these swings on the pendulum here with the Heat. They're here one day, they're here. I don't think you can sustain that drive and that kill every single day against a more superior team. And I think that's one of the reasons that you don't see consistency with them, because they're playing a superior team with a superior player. All right. Anyway, Rick Barry, bottom of the hour. Should the Philadelphia Eagles retire Nick Foles' number 9? Yes or no? Should he be in your Ring of Honor? That'd be the old. Hey, by the way, this is Tone's topic, and I'll say this to you, Tone. Carson Wentz will never come back from that one. Hey, he'll never come back from that. He'll never come back from that one. Never come back from that one. That would kill him off. And not literally, but that would be the end of it. He oh, Jesus Christ. Now they're retiring his number. Expired you. Yes. Thank you. You think they should retire his number? Sue, yes. Bob, yes. Look at oh, okay. Hey, Tone, what do you think? Tone's dad wants his. I bet Tone's dad wants his number retired. Malcolm, yes. Yes. Can I tell you why I agree with you guys? I think they should retire his number. Yes, he's the first to win the Super Bowl. Marshall, can I tell you why he should? Okay. To me, he's kind of like Roger Maris of the Yankees. Had that one great year, one great moment. But 50, 60, 70 years, 100 years after he did that, you'll always remember what Maris did in 61. It was a shining moment that will never be forgotten by a fan base, no matter what the generation is. He did something that's generational. Players will be better than him. Players will have put better careers up than him. But he brought a community something that you've been starving for since 1960. He put the community in a place where it came together. Black, white, Jew, Gentile, Catholic, Baptist, Muslim, didn't matter. Everybody in Philadelphia celebrated in that moment. And when you get a transcendent moment like that, and one player can be identified with that moment, that's why you put Foles in. Is Foles the greatest quarterback in the history of the Eagles? No, Jurgensen's even better. No, we all know that. But you know what we all know? He brought the greatest moment to Philadelphia Eagle history in a moment where people were doubting. And don't they doubt you all the time anyway in Philly? He embodies you. There is one player that embodies Philadelphia. It's Nick Foles. That's why you guys are so drawn to Jalen, because he kind of has a lot of that vibe too. You're drawn to Jalen because he kind of reminds you of what Nick did. And you hope he can. And that's why it was so kind of heart-wrenching, because if he would have crossed that finish line, he probably would have given you the greatest moment in the history of Philadelphia sports history. Jalen Hurts. Okay? I mean, there's a way of looking at how you celebrate people. It doesn't always have to be about a 20-year career. It could always be about a shining moment. And that's what Nick did. I have no problem if you define it that way. Hey, who had a better Philadelphia Eagle quarterbacking career in Philly? Wentz or Foles? Wentz did. It's not close. But who will be remembered more? Foles. Can you imagine that? Carson Wentz. This is why I think Carson Wentz fell apart also. No matter what he did in Philly, was never going to duplicate that moment. Dude, I remember the Philly special moment with Doug. And I wasn't even really covering the team then. I was like, Jesus, criminy. And then when they started airing what they said to one another, you're like, that is so iconic. Let's run it. Dude, there should be t-shirts sold at the link. Every single tailgate. Let's run it. You'd make $1 zillion off that shirt. Let's run it. I really thought I would never see an Eagles Super Bowl win in my lifetime. Brian, that's why Foles means something to you. That's why you retire his number. Because to guys, there's 1 billion Brians in Philly. Dude, you are the same as the Boston Red Sox fan and the Chicago Cub fan. You know, I talked nationally for quite a bit of years. Do you know how many people like Brian have come on my program and said, I never thought that Joe Madden would deliver a World Series title to Chicago. He has a Rocky-type story, very true to the city. Right, he's Rocky. Okay? He's Rocky. He is a real live Rocky. Knocked the champ out. Brady was Apollo Creed. Surely people have made that comparison. One fight, one moment. So it makes the NFL great, unlike a 7-game series. One fight, one moment. Foles is Rocky, Brady is Apollo Creed. Undefeated, unbeaten. Or, never beaten in his career. Foles takes him out. That's why we have a statue of Doug and Nick. Well, shit, if you have a statue of Doug and Nick, you should put a statue up. All right, I got to get to this topic. We've already hit on a shitload of stuff already, but I haven't even hit the topics yet, and I got Rick Barry at the bottom of the hour, so indulge me. By the way, before I get into the topic here with Desai, the Joker, is he a top 3 center? Wait, is he a top 10 center in the history of the NBA right now? 2-time MVP. That game last night was so insane. He's not a very good athlete, though. He's better than Ewing. Best center in the game is Jabbar. Second is Shaq. Third is probably Olajuwon. Fourth, is Wilt. Fifth, you count Russell as a center, he's 6'9". Magic Johnson was 6'9". I mean, probably Russell because it was the time. Now, I don't think you're prisoner of the moment because I'm trying to think. Is he better than Moses Malone? I don't think so. Is he better than David Robinson? I think he's better than David Robinson. Because I don't think David Robinson was the passer that this guy is. Is he as athletic? No. He's a better shooter. He's just as good a rebounder. Joker, in my opinion, man, I think he's a top 10. Where you put him, I think it solidifies it if he wins and when he wins the NBA championship and those 2 MVPs, he'll be in a. Hey, how about this? He's one of the very few guys on the pivot that is a go-to guy. And if you think about the go-to guy, Shaq wasn't a go-to guy with 2 minutes left in the game. He is. Jabbar was. That's what separates those. Malone was. Akeem was. Because those guys had jump shots and they were great at the free throw line. That's what separates those big. Shaq was 50% from the charity stripe. Didn't really have a jump shot. This guy has it all. Okay? Completely has it all. I'll ask Rick Barry that question here in a couple minutes. All right. I wrote this down here. Let's move on here. Reason that the Eagle defense might struggle in 2023. Here's what I put down. What's the identity going to be of this year's defense? You know, I love something that Jalen said. Jalen said something at the press conference today. He says, what we did last year will not help us get to where we want to get to this year. He's right. Out of sight, out of mind. 2022 has no bearing on 2023. Zero. It's wonderful philosophy, wonderful mentality, and he's correct. You see, there's a lot of people. LeBron James doesn't think like this. He thinks about his legacy all the time. Now, maybe because he's later in his career, he's not going to have a lot of winning in Los Angeles. Maybe that's kind of why, because losing will make you think of who you are and what you're doing. Maybe should I continue? Probably there goes into with that with LeBron. But as a young player, that's the attitude you should have. I don't give a shit about 2022. Has no bearing on 23. So what's the identity of the defense going to be? I don't know yet. Are they going to be pass rushers again like they were a year ago? 70 sacks is true. What were they known for last year? What was their identity? It's funny. I don't know if they had an identity. Somebody tell me what the Philadelphia Eagle defensive identity was last year. What was the identity? Were they aggressive? No. Well, wait. How could you have 70? See, hang on here. Seals, they weren't aggressive. They had 70 sacks. True. 70 sacks is a spectacular number. Only the 85 Bears beat it. Getting to the quarterback and being opportunistic. Kind of sounds like, hey, we were good getting to the quarterback, and we were opportunistic in our ability to do what we did. I don't know. It just sounds kind of common, but I know. It does sound fluky like that. I get it. I mean, it does. It sounds soft a little bit, but it's not when you have 70 sacks. Bend but don't break. JM, that's not a bad one. Okay. That's not a bad bend but don't break. Yeah, but those 70 sacks separate. I mean, dude. It's tremendous. There were 5 off the record, I think. But I do think bend but don't break. Okay. What's the attitude this year going to be? Is that going to be the same kind of identity? Bend but don't break? Can you get to a Super Bowl that way? Well, they did. I think finding out what the identity is. Are they going to have 70 sacks this year? I don't believe so. Okay, I do not. How about this second one? How are the new faces going to play? How are they going to put them into a play? Hey, to be candid and fair, they figured out Hassan Reddick. That's got to be an absolute one of the best things that happened last year for the Eagles was figuring that player out where 2 teams prior could not figure him out, Hassan Reddick. The Cardinals and Carolina couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out how to keep him on the field and deal with some of the deficiencies he has in his game. Tackling, covering. He's not the greatest at it. He's great at creating. I'll tell you this. He's an athlete. There's one thing about Hassan Reddick that you notice immediately. He's a pretty good athlete. How about this? I'll use the word exceptional. He's an exceptional athlete. He's an exceptional athlete. Figuring out Hassan Reddick is Jonathan Gannon's only merit badge. Was it really him? Here's why I question that, Tone. He couldn't figure out how to fix the run game. So you know what they did? I think they fell into it. I don't think anybody figured it out. I think once they fixed up the run game by getting Linval Joseph and they got Dominic Sue, I think once they fixed the run game, I think they fell into his production. And that's what helped him. Okay? I think once they fixed it, because if you notice, once they added that guy, those two guys to the team, his numbers went up. And I'll give you an example of this. Everyone wants to give Dan Quinn all this credit for Micah Parsons being this great pass rusher. The only reason they figured it out was because the defensive end, their star end, got hurt, and they put him down in a three-point. All of a sudden, they went, holy shit, look what we got there. Wasn't like Dan Quinn, all of a sudden, like Jim Johnson figured out Hugh Douglas. See, Jim Johnson created Hugh Douglas in a position. I think Dan Quinn fell into Michael Parsons too. As good a coordinator as I think he is. Okay? And I think they fell into it. I don't think Jonathan Gannon, because if Jonathan Gannon was so creative, why couldn't he stop the run game? Couldn't do it. How he stopped do you want to know this? How he did more to stop the Eagle run game last year and help the Eagle defensive run game than what Gannon did by getting those two players. It was nothing to do with scheme. It was to do with personnel. Sometimes the best plan is not having one at all. Completely true. Okay? Completely true. Gannon had Hassan slot and tight end guys early in the season. That's what I'm saying, Malcolm. I agree with you. How many times did we bitch here in the show early in the year going, why is he covering tight ends and backs? He can't. They didn't have a linebacker on that team a year ago that could do that. That's why I say once they put those two D tackles in there and they went from 22 to around 16 a year ago and stopping the run, I think that's when he blew up.